Guys, I have to admit it to you. I'm just a fantasy baseball addict like yourself, and I've already started deep diving my rankings for 2025, and I'm going to share the results with you, the good, bad, and the ugly, on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, riding solo today. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It will subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And if you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And lastly, most importantly to Matt and I, guys, give us a chance on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth, personalized experience, offering so much more than we can in this 30-minute podcast, featuring, way too early. Actually, this episode is going to give you that little tidbit of my way too early rankings. I'm going to be releasing, a tidbit of that on Subtext. We're going to have way too early sleepers, bust breakouts, and we're also going to be answering strictly keeper and dynasty questions only on Subtext. So if you are interested in joining us on there, the link is in bio. And this episode is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. The right state can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. And all right, guys, I know I say this a lot, but I'm super excited for today's episode. I mean, I just love being able to do this. It's a lot of fun to spend this time with you guys. These 30 minutes mean a lot to myself. I hope they mean just as much to you. And I'm going to be sharing a little tidbit into my 2025 fantasy baseball rankings. I know, if you are a fantasy baseball addict like myself, I know everyone's itching for rankings. And I'm going to share some risers and fallers with you guys today. I'm going to share some guys that have jumped up a lot in my rankings, some guys that have fallen, and we're going to break down the reasons why. I think one of the best ones to start with is a quite obvious one, but a fun name, somebody that we love to talk about in this podcast. It's Tarik Skubal, the pterodactyl, the anchor of this Detroit Tigers rotation and this Detroit Tigers team, quite frankly, that has been doing very, very well in the playoffs, surprising a lot of people. I think even themselves, it's crazy to see they traded Jack Flaherty and they're doing so well. But we're here to talk about the key cog, Tarik Skubal. Last year, going into 2024, we had to pay the price of the 13th starting pitcher for Tarik Skubal, pick 48. So if you got Tarik Skubal as your SP2 and you paired him with like a Corbin Burns or, the guys that went above him really did not outperform him, Zach Wheeler. So if you had a rotation that started with Wheeler Skubal, oh my Lord, you probably did fantastic this year. And let me tell you this, if you listen to me, I had Skubal ranked fairly high myself. I had Tarik Skubal as my SP11 going into 2024. And where do I have him going into 2025? Some might say I'm crazy, but I think actually most experts are going to agree on this one. I have Tarik Skubal as my SP1 going into 2025. So that's a rise of about, 10 spots for Skubal in my, rankings, 12 spots or 11 spots, 12 spots actually. In, if you're looking at where ADP was, I just think he's that guy now. At 27 years old, had the year that we all thought he was capable of. 31 starts for Skubal, a 2.39 ERA, 18 wins, 4 losses, 192 innings, 228 strikeouts, and he had an 0.92 whip, and he had 2.50 FIP, which is fielding independent pitching. It's an ERA indicator, kind of shows you where the ERA should be rather than where it is. And I mean, he was right on par with it. I think Skubal can keep this up. I think he can be close to a low 3s ERA guy to, even the sub 3 ERA guy. Strikeouts are big. They're legit. He's done it his whole career. The control is really good. It's something that he's grown into. Even in 2023, he had an 0.89 whip, and that was through 80 innings. Some people didn't buy it. Cough, cough, my co-host, Matt. But Matt liked him too, but just wasn't as high on him as I was. So just I think the proof is in the pudding now. We have a full year of it under his belt. I think next year there's guys that we can put in that conversation, and we will do a starting pitcher episode here and break that down. So I don't want to get into too much of that. I just want to give Skubal his flowers. If you go on Baseball Savant, which is the website we talk about, if you want to do the advanced stats, everything is great. Everything is legit. There's nothing else we could say about Skubal at this point in his career besides he is that guy. So I'm going to leave it there with the pterodactyl, one of my favorite players in the game right now, and he's so fun to root for too, right? I'll say this: if you've been watching any playoffs, you might have seen Skubal. He's just as amped to get a double play as he is a strikeout. He just wants to win. You love to see that, and honestly, he's a guy that might be worth it next year. It might be worth it to grab him as the SP1, maybe not in the first round. If that's where he's going, I'm not going to do it. But if you could take him in the second and kind of pair him with a good bat, then you don't have to worry about starting pitching for a few rounds, like 3 rounds maybe, and you could build that rotation after a Skubal, right? So I think that's what we're going to be doing with him next year. I like him. I do want to move on, though. Don't want to spend too much time on him. Let's move on to this next guy. Let's talk some Ronald Acuña Jr. So I'll give you guys this too. The trend I'm going to do here this episode, I'm going to do rise or faller. So Acuña faller, for obvious reasons, he's hurt. I actually just heard the news yesterday that there's no guarantee Acuña's ready for opening day. And it's tough to see. He goes to another big injury here. I don't know. I've moved Acuña down to the 5th outfielder for 2025. Acuña was obviously going as number 1 pick coming off the 40-70 year in 2024, or 2023 going into 2024. And I just don't know if he'll be the same guy. I know he's going to be 27 next year. He's still going to be fairly young, but is he going to be running rampant, coming off another leg injury, right? I don't know. I don't think they let him go out and steal 73 bags. Maybe he's still going to steal a 30, 40, but is he still going to be the best outfielder in all of fantasy baseball? I don't know, because the 149 runs in 2023, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that again, right? It's just going to be interesting. The Braves as a whole took a step back this year. I know Acuña's injury had a lot to do with it, but is the team going to be as good around him? I know they have all those young guys signed for a long time, but I think 2023 is a career year for Acuña. I think going into the offseason, and if you're in a keeper dynasty type situation, you should listen to offers. You should see what's out there on the table, because I don't fear for the worst, and you look at Acuña and you know who he is. When he's out there, he's going to be a good baseball player, but I don't think he's ever the 330, 40, 70 guy again. I don't foresee it. I'm not banking on it. So I say this a lot, guys. The trade, I had Ronald Acuña in a dynasty league. The trade that I made, right at, literally, I want to say the day or two after he got hurt, I traded Acuña. I acquired Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Tyler Glasnow. I would, if you can get a similar type of deal to that, I would do it, just because, that's such a tough injury to come back from again for Acuña, right? So I think he could hit a lot of home runs, and I think the RBIs are going to be good, but I just don't think he's number 1 overall player in fantasy baseball. So with that being said, I think if you're in a keeper dynasty format, you should trade him. Can you draft him next year in redraft? Yeah, sure. Why not? If we're getting a 3rd round, 4th round value on Acuña, that's where I'm going to be in on it. If he's healthy in spring training and he's tearing the ball up, that's going to be a whole nother story, and we'll address that then. But I'm going off the news. The news is there's no guarantee Acuña is ready for spring training. That's just scary to hear, so I think we tread lightly with Ronald Acuña. Let's swing in here to somebody who I'm excited about. Let's get back into that positive note. Jackson Chourio. Man, this kid, he slow start, but you know what? We warned you guys about that. We've seen it with the Julios and Carrolls and of recent year rookies, right? But Jackson Chourio picked it up and finished the year with a great stat line. 148 games for Chourio, 528 at-bats, 80 runs, 29 doubles, 4 triples, 21 homers, 79 RBIs, 22 steals, 39 walks, 221 strikeouts, and it's a little ugly, but a 275 batting average. And guess what? You know how old Jackson Chourio is? Jackson Chourio is 20 years old. I mean, come on. If he does that at 20 years old, I think the sky is the limit. He's been all right in the postseason so far as well. So I really like Chourio, and I'll say this: I have Chourio ranked as my number 10 outfielder going into 2025. I don't know if that's bold or not yet. I haven't seen a lot of rankings yet. So with that being said, I mean, I like him. I think you could take him as your outfielder number 1. I don't think he's going to disappoint. Jackson Chourio was going as outfielder number 33 going into 2024. Pick 132. That's not happening again. We're going to have to pay a pretty penny for Chourio, and it's always a thing where every year guys that we got value on or guys that we picked up off waiver wires or rookies like this, they come in that value. Look at Elly De La Cruz coming into 2024. We had to take him as a 3rd round pick, which Matt and I advised you was a good move to do, and it panned out, right? So if we're going to have to do something similar with Jackson Chourio this year, who actually I think had better numbers as a rookie than Elly De La Cruz did. I don't think he's going to be better than Elly De La Cruz, but it just shows you how disciplined this young hitter is in Jackson Chourio, that I'm going to win as many shares as I can get. I'm hoping I'm bullish on him and that everyone's a little bit lower on Jackson Chourio than I am, just so I can get him on a lot of my teams as my outfielder number 2, because I think that's going to be the sweet spot for me. I mean, Jeff, if I have to, I'm usually a 1st round outfielder kind of guy, especially in recent years. So I think I might stay with that trend, and I might not, be getting too much Chourio if I have to take him as my OF1. But you know what? There's a world where this kid goes, 30-30, 100 plus runs, 90 RBIs, and hits the 280 batting average. Mr. basically does what Jarren Duran did this past year, and let's see where we're going to be drafting Jarren Duran. I think he's going to be another guy that's like a top 10ish outfielder. So we'll see. But with that being said, I have a bunch more risers, fallers, some names that you're going to be like, Dom, what's going on here? So a bunch of interesting names and fun conversation around 2025 value and more coming up next. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up all the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA accounts. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhoodgold.com, robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold member is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch over to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for your everyday to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And then once again, Matt and I want to talk to you guys about the Locked On Podcast Diamond Club. The Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform. It's going to be your ultimate fantasy baseball companion as this offseason unfolds. You can rely on Matt and I for our dynamic content. You're going to get real-time alerts right to your phone, including these rankings that I'm talking about today, sleepers, busts, breakouts, and then you're going to be able to ask us your keeper and dynasty questions on there as well. So stay ahead of your fantasy league by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where the path to your victories begins. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. And all right, guys, let's jump back in here because you know what? I only got 30 minutes with you and I want to make the most of it. Let's talk about another faller. We talked about Chourio as a riser. We're going to do riser faller. Grayson Rodriguez, man. I'm a little down on him. I still got to deep dive him a little bit more. This is why, this is way too early rankings. I haven't done a complete and total deep dive on everybody. I'll be honest with you guys. I go through about, I want to say a good 300 players in the MLB, maybe even more, or maybe even 400 on any given year, especially since I've been doing this podcast now. And then prospects too. I do another about 150, 200 prospects. So, as I go through all these names, I try and give them the best due diligence I can. But, after this year from Grayson Rodriguez, I'm a little bit down on him, which doesn't mean I'm out. I'm just a little bit down on him, right? Last year, let me just see. I got to go through my last year rankings for you guys, just to pull up where I had Grayson Rodriguez, because I was very bullish on Mr. Grayson. I had him as my SP19. I've moved Grayson down going into 2025. I have Grayson at the moment as my SP33. So I do like him as an SP3, but I just can't get behind him behind him as an SP2 right now. Grayson Rodriguez, 20 starts this year for the Baltimore Orioles, a 3.86 ERA, 116 innings pitched, 130 strikeouts, a 1.24 WHIP. The FIP is a 3.66, which I do like. It's just I have to see it, man. He does it in spurts. You look at Hunter Green. I wanted to see Grayson Rodriguez do what Hunter Green did, right? And so I was talking about a buddy of mine, a buddy that I work with. Shout out to you, Jonathan. I think it's his fastball. I think it's Grayson Rodriguez's fastball, right? So in 2024, and this is most thrown pitch, Grayson Rodriguez threw his fastball this past year in 2024, 46.5% of the time. And it got hit for a 291 batting average. In 2023, Grayson Rodriguez threw his fastball 49% of the time, and it got hit at a 342 clip. And the weird thing is too, his fastball's a mile per hour down from 23 to 24. He was sitting at 97.4 on average in 2023 to 96.1 on average in 2024. It looks like actually most of his pitches took a little bit of a step back when it comes to velocity with Grayson Rodriguez. So I'm not sure what's going on here with the repertoire. He was the number one pitching prospect in all of baseball. He's still only 24 years old. I'm still a buyer if the price is right. I think there's so many other pitchers with upside that I've moved ahead of him from, last year to this year. I have the Hunter Greens, the Cole Reagans, the guys like that have just, in my head or any, I think for most people should be drafting over Grayson Rodriguez. And then, those names just start adding up. And you even look at a guy like Shane Baz, who had a monster finish at the end of the year. Who are we taking? Are we taking Shane Baz or are we taking Grayson Rodriguez? And Shane Baz is another guy who had a really high-end pitching prospect. So it's going to be an interesting one for Grayson Rodriguez. I'm down on him at the moment. Let's see what 2025 has in store for the young pitcher, who I still think can be good. The price just has to be right for me to be snagging Grayson Rodriguez going into 2025. Mr. Jarren Duran is up next as we go back into the risers. I really, really want to get into Jarren Duran here because this is somebody that Matt and I have been talking about. We don't necessarily agree on the 2025 value, but let's go over the numbers, right? 27 years old for Jarren Duran this past season, 160 games, 671 at-bats, 111 runs, 48 doubles, 14 triples, 21 homers, 75 RBIs, 34 steals, 54 walks to 160 strikeouts, and he hit 285. A lot of that stuff is sticky, man. A lot of it is Jarren Duran can have 100+ runs again next year. The 21 homers, the kid's got a little bit of pop in the bat. I don't necessarily know if he's going to ever surpass that, but can he hit 18 to 20 home runs, or let's say like 16 to 21 home runs? Yeah, sure, of course. And that's a solid number to have. The RBIs, I think that's a nice number, 75 to 85 RBIs. 34 steals is real. Jarren Duran is super fast. That's a tool that he owns that's not going away anytime soon. Going to be 28 next year. And batting average, he's done it, man. Hit 295 in 2023. Hit 285 in 2024. Was a batting average guy for pretty much all of his minor league career. So I don't see what's not to like about Duran in 2025. I have Duran in my outfield rankings. I have him at 11. Him and Chourio are going to be fun debate to do, next year going into it, as we get closer. Let's see where I had Duran in 2024. He was somebody that I was moving up a lot. I just remember moving him up and up, as the, draft season went on because I didn't really like outfield. So I ended up with Jarren Duran as my 34th outfielder, last year. Let's check where ADP was on him because that's a fun one to see too. Where was Jarren Duran coming off the board? Jarren Duran was coming off the board at actually he was coming off the board kind of late, it looks like. 44th, outfielder 44, pick 171. So if you took Jarren Duran, you listened to me, you moved him up a little bit. It paid off, and I think he's a second round pick minimum next year. I really, really like what he brings to the table, man. And I love the speed with a little bit of power, good batting average, runs. I think Boston's going to be competitive next year. So I like me some Jarren Duran. All right, guys, we're going to do a couple more risers, a couple more fallers. I'll give you a little tease. There's a name in here, that's going to be coming up next. I was really high on next year, and he's actually a faller. And then there's a name that I didn't like that's a riser. So stay locked on because those names and more are coming up next. And guys, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get in on the action in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineup stays in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are safe and secure. When my Prize Picks hits, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly. When you play 5, you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Make your Prize Picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off and which ones aren't? Make your Prize Picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long with Prize Picks. And all right, guys, I wish I could do this episode for like an hour so we can go through all these fun names, but you know what? We'll do what we can while we have the time to do it. Faller, Logan Webb, man. I like Logan Webb. I might have been a little bit late to get in on the Logan Webb bandwagon, but you know what? The last few years I've been there, I thought there was another level here. And I just don't think it's coming, man. Logan Webb has really good stuff. He has really good breaking pitches that gets a lot of swings and misses, but it never really translates into more strikeouts. So in 2023, which was pretty much Logan Webb's career year, 3.25 ERA, 33 starts, 216 innings, 194 strikeouts, 107 WHIP. So as a 26-year-old, you say there's room for improvement, especially he had a 2.90 ERA the year before with 192 innings and, 163 strikeouts. You really thought as a 27-year-old, okay, maybe this kid's making the leap this past year. All right, Dom, what did he do? 33 starts for Logan Webb in 2024, 13 wins, 10 losses, a 3.47 ERA. You're like, oh, Dom, that's doing pretty good so far. All right, hold on. 204 innings, 172 strikeouts. Strikeouts went the opposite direction. A 107 whip in 23 for Webb, a 123 whip for Webb in 24. So I just don't think he's ever going to be better than what he is. And I think what he is in, 12-man leagues, lower end SP2, higher end SP3, anything deeper than that, you gotta finagle what you gotta do, so he's probably closer to, a higher end SP2 and, like a 15-man. But in your 12, most I want to say most guys or most of us play in 12-man leagues. Some play in 10, some play in 8s. So you got to take the information and apply it to your league. I just don't. I think Logan Webb's a little bit above average pitcher. He's just a little bit above mediocre. He's going to give you the good ERA. He's going to give you a lot of innings, not a lot of strikeouts, not a lot of wins. The whip has become questionable. He's a career 118 whip guy, which isn't killing you, but it's not a plus. It's not a plus in the category. He's not helping you there either. He's just getting you by. So I think you take Logan Webb for what he is. If maybe, let's say if you can get him as your SP3, maybe you went really risky with your second starting pitcher. Maybe you took a safer starting pitcher that gets a little bit injured with your SP1. So let's say you went Tyler Glasnow, Hunter Green, and then you were able to get Logan Webb. I love that. I think that's a great combo of 3 pitchers. If you could do do that, you're probably going to be doing pretty well. I don't know if the community is going to agree with me on Logan Webb. I think people are going to have him higher than I have him. I don't know if I say where I have him ranked going into 2025. I have Logan Webb down at my SP 34 right now. So, it's definitely lower than I had him last year because I know I had him moved up big time last year. I had Logan Webb as my SP 14 going into, 2024. So with that being said, I think we just need to be a little bit cautious when we're drafting Logan Webb in 2025. I don't think he has another level. I don't think you should either. So don't be drafting him thinking he has a lot of upside. I just don't think it's there. Let's move into another Detroit Tiger. Another guy that's doing pretty good here in the playoffs. Let's talk some Kerry Carpenter, right? I think Kerry Carpenter is somebody I'm going to have a lot of shares of in 2025. I think we're going to get decent value on him too. I don't think everybody's going to understand how good he was in the small sample size. He was a little bit banged up here and there, Kerry Carpenter was, but he played 87 games this year, 264 at-bats, 37 runs, 16 doubles, 5 triples, 18 homers. Once again, 18 homers in 87 games, 57 RBIs, didn't steal a bag, even though he stole 6 last year, and a 284 batting average on the year for Kerry Carpenter. I think this kid has another level. I think there's a world where Kerry Carpenter hits 30 plus home runs, steals 10 bags, has a 275, 285 batting average, and it's just on this Detroit Tigers team that looks like they're going to be pretty good next year too. Let's talk about what Kerry Carpenter did in the minors in 2022 before he got the call. He played 98 games, 358 at bats, 60 runs, 27 doubles, a triple, 30 homers, 75 RBIs, 3 steals, and he hit 313. So Kerry Carpenter's showing that he can handle major league hitting, over the course of his small sample size in the big so far. He has hit 276 over 236 games and 785 at-bats. He has 44 homers over that time and, the 6 aforementioned steals. So I think Kerry Carpenter is somebody I'm going to like. The sprint speed's about average, a little bit above average for Kerry Carpenter. So the steals are going to be a little bit more if he wants to do it type of thing. I have Kerry Carpenter probably too high going into 2025. I have Kerry Carpenter as outfielder number 26. Probably move him down a little bit. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be a pretty good outfielder number 3, for most teams going into 2025. So I think I'm going to move him down a little bit just to adjust to that. Kerry Carpenter, let's see. He was coming off the board as outfielder 49 last year, pick 198. And where did I have Kerry Carpenter ranked? I was probably a little bit higher on him than most of the community too, guys. I had Kerry Carpenter ranked as my outfielder 41 last year. So I was about, 8 spots ahead, than where he was going to ADP. If you drafted him, a little bit of an injury played season, but those 87 games he played, man, those 87 games that Kerry Carpenter played, he definitely helped you, so we could take a little bit of solace in that. All right, guys, time to eat a little bit of crow, and then I'll see if I can sneak in those last 2 guys for you that I have planned. Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott's a faller. I was super high on Bryson Stott going into, 2024. So I'm actually going to pull it up for you guys. Like I said, I'll take it, man. I'm growing. I can admit when I was wrong. I had Bryson Stott as my 7th second baseman coming off the board. He did not even come close to paying that back. I want to see what the ADP was because I know ADP was moving up on him too. I'll take partial blame for that. The 12th second baseman, pick 107 for Stott, so he was almost inside that top 100. And he's just disappointed, man. A dude that I really, really thought there was another level here. I'm not sure if it's there. He's still not as young as I thought, 26 for Stott. So 148 games this past year, 506 at-bats. He had 65 runs, 19 doubles, 2 triples, 11 homers, 57 RBIs, 32 steals, and he hit 245. So I wish I had the sound of "fooled you" because that's what Bryson Stott sure did to me, man. I'm a little bit salty about it. Coming off that such a strong year in 2023, I really thought he could do it. A lot of the underlying stuff said that he could be better, but it just really didn't work out. I thought there was a little bit more room in the power department. Not really. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think he's going to be who he is when it comes to the power because you know what? He didn't take a step forward with it. The speed's real. He's definitely a big steals guy. And even for batting average, man, I really thought the batting average had another level to it. I really thought, he was going to take a step forward. Didn't, but the plate discipline did. He had 53 walks to 93 strikeouts. I think if the value falls deep enough on Stott and we can get him as a bench bat, I'll take him. I'll see where the thing can go, but I don't think it's gonna. I don't think we're gonna have too much Bryson Stott. Plays in the good Phillies team, but just really disappointed. I'm a little bit soured by him. Maybe I'll brighten back up to him, but I really think I'm gonna be fading Stott big time going into 25. I got two names for here. I'll try and sneak them in as fast as I can. Zach Neto is a big riser for me. He's going to be in my hold up. I do want to pull up where I put him at shortstop. I think I had him right inside my top 10. I'll be honest with you. I had not Stott. Zach Neto, shortstop number 11 going into 2025. He really showed out this year, was a big time prospect with the Angels. The Angels are a tough team, so the counting stats probably won't be great, but 155 games this past season for Neto, 542 at-bats, 70 runs, 34 doubles, a triple, 23 homers, 77 RBIs, 30 steals, and he hit 249. I think he has a little bit more in the batting average department. I think he can be a 260-ish hitter. The 23 homers and 30 steals are great. He could be, I think he could be close to a 30-30 guy. Counting stats aren't going to be great, so take that what you will with Zach Neto. I'll have some Zach Neto next year for sure, and I think you should too. Then I'll talk about Tristan Casas real quick. Casas, a guy that, had dealt with a couple of injuries this year and honestly has dealt with a couple of injuries throughout his career, so I will be taking it with a grain of salt. But, while Casas was out there, he was pretty good this year. 63 games, 212 at-bats, 28 runs, 8 doubles, 13 homers, 32 RBIs, and a 241 batting average. Like I said, he was hurt for a lot of the year, so I think we're going to get a nice discount on Casas, and people won't realize that, before he got hurt, he was doing really well, and then he had a really, really strong 2023. Casas is going to be he's going to be 25 years old in 2025. I love that, so I will be having a lot of Tristan Casas next year. But guys, that's all the time I have for today. Shout out to our everydayers and new listeners making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And guys, after you make us your first listen, go over to Locked On MLB and make Sully your second listen. Sully's a great guy, runs a great show over there, does things a little bit differently than we do, so you're going to have a different experience there, which is going to be just as fun. So guys, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, see ya.